What if I told you an atom wasn't just some tiny little particle, but a building, like a skyscraper with energy levels for floors and electrons as the residents? Well, today, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to become atomic architects and explore the master blueprint for how every single atom in the universe gets built.
It really all boils down to one simple question. Imagine you've got a nucleus, that's your foundation, and just a bucket full of electrons. Where do you put them? I mean, you can't just throw them in there randomly, right? Turns out there's a master plan, a set of rules that tells us exactly where every single electron needs to go. And that leads us right into our first section, the atomic blueprint. This is where we're going to dig into the fundamental principle that guides this whole construction project. This is the master plan for building any element, right from the ground up. And this master plan, it's actually got a name, the Aufbau Principle. Now, the name itself is a huge giveaway. It comes right from the German word Aufbau, which literally means building up. And that is exactly what we are doing. We're building the atom one electron at a time.
So what's the core idea? Honestly, it's super intuitive. You wouldn't build the roof of a house before you lay the foundation, right? Well, it's the same thing here. Electrons are always going to go for the lowest possible energy level that's available. They have to fill up the ground floor before they even think about heading up to the penthouse.
Now, of course, every good architect knows you can't just start building without following the local building codes. And guess what? The atomic world is no different. There are 3 essential, non-negotiable rules, our building codes, that make sure our atom is stable and built to last. So here they are in a nutshell. First, you've got your foundation. That's the Aufbau principle we just talked about. Second, there are strict occupancy limits, which we get from something called the Pauli exclusion principle. And third, and this is a fun one, electrons need their personal space, and that's described by Hund's rule. Let's break each one down. So let's just lock in rule number 1 again. Lowest energy first. An electron can't just skip a floor. It has to fill that lowest energy orbital, the 1s, before it can even consider moving up to the 2s level. It's always, always, always about building from the ground up.
All right, rule number 2, occupancy limits. Think of each orbital as a tiny little room. The Pauli exclusion principle says this room can hold, at most, 2 electrons. But, and this is a big but, to share that room, they have to be opposites. One has to have its spin up, and the other has to have its spin down. No exceptions to this one.
And finally, we get to Hund's rule, which I like to call the personal space rule. Think about getting on an empty bus. You don't go and sit right next to the only other person on there, do you? No, you take an empty row for yourself. Well, electrons do the exact same thing. When they get to a subshell that has a bunch of orbitals with the same energy, like the p orbitals, each one grabs its own empty orbital first before they even think about pairing up.
Okay, theory is great and all, but let's get our hands dirty, shall we? It's time to put on our hard hats and actually build some elements. Let's see how this blueprint and these building codes work in the real world.
Let's start with the simplest of all, hydrogen. It's only got 1 electron. So, following our first rule, lowest energy first, that single electron goes right into the 1s orbital, the ground floor. That's it. Simple as that. Next up, helium, with 2 electrons. Okay, so the first one goes into the 1s orbital. Where does the second one go? Well, the 1s orbital still has some room, so the second electron joins the first one. But remember rule number 2, the Pauli exclusion principle? To share the room, it's got to have the opposite spin. So we draw 1 arrow up and 1 arrow down, and now the 1s orbital is officially full. So what happens with lithium, which has 3 electrons? Well, the first 2 fill up the 1s orbital, just like they did in helium. But now that orbital is at max capacity. There's no more room. So where does that third electron go? It has no choice but to move on up to the next available energy level, which is the 2s orbital. Okay, now let's see Hund's rule in action with carbon. Carbon has 6 electrons. The first 2, they fill up the 1s orbital. The next 2 fill the 2s. Now, the last 2 have to go into the p subshell. But look how they do it. They don't pair up, just like on the bus. They each take their own empty orbital first. That's Hund's rule, right there. So we've got our blueprint, we've got our building codes. Seems pretty cut and dry, right? But what happens when the atom decides it wants to, renovate? Because it turns out, sometimes, and for very good reasons, atoms make their own surprising design changes. They break their own rules. And this is where things get really, really interesting. Because in science, it's often the exceptions to the rules that teach us the most important lessons. So check this out. Take a look at chromium. Now, if we just blindly followed our building codes, we would predict its electron configuration would be 4s squared 3d4. But that's not what we actually see in nature. The real design is 4s1 3d5. The atom literally took an electron from a lower floor, the 4s, and promoted it up to a higher one, the 3d. But why on earth would it do that?
And the answer comes down to one simple word: stability. It turns out that there is this special, super stable, low-energy state that comes with having a subshell that's either exactly half full or completely full. So by promoting that one electron, chromium gets half full S subshell and a half full D subshell. It's like the atom is doing its own renovation to make itself more balanced and stable. It's incredible.
Okay, so we've designed atoms, we've even seen them break the rules. But why does any of this matter? Why is this atomic architecture so critical? Well, it's because this blueprint, this master plan, dictates pretty much everything about how an element behaves in the real world.
I mean, everything. How reactive an element is, how it bonds with other atoms, that's all determined by how its outer electrons are arranged. The entire periodic table, the way it's structured, is basically just a giant map of this Aufbau Principle in action. Even things like the magnetic properties of a material or the brilliant colors you see in chemical compounds, it all comes back to this fundamental atomic architecture.
Which kind of leaves us with one last big thought to chew on. We started with what seemed like a really rigid set of rules, only to discover that atoms will happily break them if it means they can achieve something more fundamental, stability. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it, what other rules of nature that we think are absolute are actually more like guidelines, just waiting for us to discover a deeper truth.